Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the delayed flight. We have a 767-400, a Boeing 767, and we are on the runway in Ahmedabad, ready to depart. So we may depart. We release the parking brakes and we take off. Slow. Okay, anyhow. Autopilot engaged. Gear up. Little by little we retract the flaps.
Delta 9er Heavy continue for south departure. Delta 9er Heavy, leaving my airspace frequency change approved.
And we engage the auto throttle. Yes, okay. Business as usual. We don't follow the flight plan for some reason. And I hope soon we will be on course. So little by little, let us gain some time and let us have a look at our FMC, because we don't have actually, we have a few waypoints but we don't have any flight plan. So let us see if it will work or not. Okay. Position. Position initialized. Airport was Ahmedabad. Let me have a look. Why are we turning so badly? Okay, we go on a route, so it is just fine. So, airport was Ahmedabad, good. Departure and arrival will be this one, ILS 25. Okay, I hope it is some flight plan I had in the FMC data. So let us press execute and have a look. Okay. Always check the VFR map. Yeah, what is going on now? Yeah, it seems we started following our route. Yeah, so it seems. We go far, we go to Chennai. This is quite far. Okay, we have some waypoints at least. Maximum speed 340. Let us have a look at our performance. Cruising altitude 36,500. No. Let us put it 15. Cost index always the lowest, the lower the better, because we gain speed like this. So let us say 4. Reserves, okay, let us say 15. Good. We increase our speed close to maximum speed. Maybe we will hear a warning soon. But let us have a look at the approach. Let us set flaps to 20, though it doesn't work. Okay, 20 and something like, let's say, 180. Okay, good. And also always we check the ILS frequency. I have written down 109.70. And indeed it's 109.70. runway 25 is our runway in Chennai airport. So somehow once again we managed to have a flight plan en route and to gain some time like this. And we're climbing to 15,000 feet, and soon we will be stabilized at 15,000 feet. Here we have a look, 15,000 feet, and also we have a look at our PFD. Here, the needle, we see vertical speed is reduced, and soon we will be straight and level flight at 15,000 feet. And let us increase our speed a little bit till maximum speed. Yeah, we see it here, for instance. Okay, this pink numbers, and also we see it here, and also we see it on the PFD here. 360 we will have alarm. For instance, let us test this one. Let us test the alarm sound. .355 at 361 we will hear something. 359 and 362. Now we must hear an alarm sound. Yeah, you see. Okay, so we reduce speed. We go to 355. So everything so far seems to be just fine. Weather conditions just fine. And we go to Chennai, as we said, with a Delta Boeing 767-400. Here now. Okay, let us change the range. We must always check that we are on course. let's say, okay, we have still some distance. Okay, until the next waypoint, 320 range shows the next waypoint. So here it shows that we are on course, okay. And we also have the VFR map, which is actually a second verification and even more important, both. Okay, so here it is just fine and here it is just fine, and also you can have a look at the distance, and the distance is here until the next waypoint, here. Okay, here you see, for instance, that the miles, nautical miles distance decreases little by little until the next waypoint. This Apuso is our next waypoint. And we have everything set on lateral navigation mode. We follow the lateral navigation mode, okay. And in case that we see strange things, if we see, for instance, the plane goes to the one or the other direction and leaves the flight path, so then what we do, this we said, and actually this we have seen lots of times already, then we leave immediately the navigation mode and we go to heading mode here, and we select our heading mode in order to correct our course. But so far we don't have such kind of problems. Now, for instance, if we want to increase our altitude, okay, if we want to increase our altitude, we change the altitude here, 15, let us make it, for instance, 16,000 feet, okay, 16,000 feet. Vertical speed we also change with the rate of climb, let's say 1,000, and so okay, let it be more steep, 2,000, and so now we climb to 16,000 feet. Okay, we see it here, altitude changes, we see the vertical speed here. As we approach 16,000 feet, vertical speed reduces until we stabilize. I'm trying a little bit to make you understand the logic of the FMC or FMS, the Flight Management Computer or Flight Management System. Because with the autopilot things are more clear. For instance, here with the autopilot, okay, you engage the autopilot, you engage the navigation mode, and you follow your route. You engage the heading mode and you follow your heading. You engage your speed with the auto throttle and you have your speed. 355 now, for instance, is our speed. And also you engage your altitude and your vertical speed per minute, the rate of descent or the rate of climb. The FMC actually, what to say, it is the brain of the plane. It is a kind of autopilot inside the autopilot, and actually it has its own rules and follows its own data, not the data of the autopilot. So let us have again a look at the FMC. So we go to performance, okay. What we see here, we see that we have an altitude of 15,000. Let us change it and make it 20. Okay, let us make it 20,000 feet. We see that the altitude changes here. The altitude is now 20,000 feet. So we have set here, let's say, 20,000 feet. Okay. altitude is 20,000 feet. Here we see that the autopilot altitude is 18,000 feet, okay, but we have vertical navigation on. We have both lateral navigation and vertical navigation engaged on the autopilot. So somehow we don't have an altitude of 18,000, we have an altitude of 24,000. Now why is that? It is because, as we said, the FMC actually it is an autopilot inside the autopilot, and since we have the vertical navigation mode on, since we have the vertical navigation mode engaged, the plane follows, or actually the plane gives priority to the vertical navigation. That means to the altitude of the vertical navigation settings, and these are in the FMC. Here is it. Our cruising altitude is 24,000 feet, it is not 18. Now, this will be quite interesting. If we change this and we go, let's say, to 28,000 feet, okay, if we change the cruising altitude to 28,000 feet, and this is exactly what I did now, we see that the plane starts climbing again. Why the plane starts climbing again? Let us put also a vertical speed of, let's say, 1.2000, okay. We see that the plane doesn't follow the altitude of 18,000 feet, but it continues to climb. And it will continue to climb until 28,000 feet here, because this is our cruising altitude set on the FMC. It is not 18. It is not this one. So the plane tries to follow the altitude of the FMC. This is quite important. And we will see that at 28,000 feet the plane will stabilize again, and we will be straightened, and we will have a straight and level flight again. So we have a look also at the PFD here. We are climbing with a rate of climb of about 2,000 feet. This is what we set on the vertical speed per minute on the autopilot. Again, we have a look here. We change the altitude to 28,000 feet. Okay. The closer we go to our new altitude, we see that the vertical speed decreases, and when it will be 28,000 feet, the plane will stabilize. Okay. Let us have a look. $27,000 feet already. Yeah, the problem is that our speed decreased a lot because we have a very high rate of climb. So I decreased it to 300 because otherwise the plane, yeah, doesn't have much power. The speed was too low, 190, to keep a rate of climb of 2,000 feet per minute. Slightly we increase the rate of climb. Again, 28,000 is our cruising altitude on the FMC. With 230, okay, the plane can climb. With 190, it couldn't. Let us increase a little bit more. .230 is our speed. $2,700 already here and here. So, what we see here, we see that somehow now we follow the FMC altitude, which is 28,000. 28,000. And we don't follow the altitude of the autopilot. Now, if we want, we can combine those two. How we will combine those two? Now, for instance, if I change my altitude, okay, and I put an altitude here on the autopilot of, let's say, 28,000 feet, which is our altitude on the FMC, okay, so 28,000, or let us make it, let's say, even 29,000. Okay, let us change it. Now, if I forget the vertical navigation, okay, and I go back to altitude mode, now we are not on vertical navigation mode anymore. We have a new altitude of 29,000 feet. We have a rate of climb of, let's say, okay, let us make it 1.5,000. So since we left the vertical navigation mode, the plane will stabilize at our new desired altitude, which now is on the autopilot, and this is 29,000 feet. See here, have a look also here, vertical speed disappeared, and we have our new altitude, which is 29,000 feet. But now we are on altitude mode. We have on autopilot the altitude mode. We don't have the vertical navigation mode anymore. I hope this makes a little bit sense. It is just a small tutorial in order to understand how the FMC works, which is a little bit complicated. But I think that it makes sense. You see, 29,000 feet. Now, what we have seen here, we said that we have seen that the FMC has an altitude of 28,000 feet. We check also the VFR map. Our course is correct. We always have a look at the VFR map that we follow our course. So we have an altitude of 28,000 feet on the FMC set. Now we go to legs, and we see that this altitude of 28,000 feet, okay, it is also the same altitude that we must have when we reach those wave points, this Apuso and Asidi and Gavit, how are those things called? We have an altitude of 28,000 feet. Now, we have an altitude of 29 because we changed it on the autopilot. From this Gavit here, 28,000 feet, to the next wave point, we go to 4,900 feet. Okay. And then, when we continue, we decrease our altitude, 2.3, 2.3, then we're close to the runway, 1,800 feet, and then somehow we land, okay, and the altitude, indeed it is about 100 something, actually it is 54. Now we want to be more precise, okay, and we want to go to 28,000 feet. There are two ways. The one way is to change the altitude here, to put 28,000 feet, and then to change our vertical speed, to have a rate of descent something, and we will manage 28,000 feet. Now the other way, since we have 28,000 feet cruising altitude here, or better here, we see Apuso, it must be flight level 28,000. So have a look here, have a look at our altitude. Our altitude now is 28,000 feet because we have vertical navigation engaged, and the plane follows the altitude that it is put in the FMC and not on the autopilot, 28,000 feet. Now the only small problem is that in this case the plane also follows the speed of the FMC, and our speed is not now this 350, but it is in the computer a speed of 237 knots. So this is a small problem because if we want to increase our altitude, we must leave the vertical speed mode. We must leave the vertical navigation mode. Let us go 25,000, which is not our cruising altitude, but it is okay, 25,000. We leave the vertical navigation mode. We leave pressing vertical speed. We set the rate of descent, let's say, of 1,500. And now, since we are not on vertical navigation anymore, we can change our speed. Before we couldn't change our speed because, okay, we have auto throttle on again. We must be a little bit careful because when we descend we increase speed. So anyhow, let us make it, let's say, about 280. If we're not very careful, we can have an overspeed because we're descending right now. Okay, 280. We are on course. And so we descend to 25,000 speed. We have to 25,000 feet. We have 25,000 feet on the autopilot. And this will be our new altitude. So now we are about how many? 150 here. Here we are about 150 miles from our next waypoint, which is this acidity here. And we will start descending. Let us try to descend not with the autopilot, okay, but again with the vertical speed. Okay, so how we will do this? We go here and we change our cruising altitude to 15,000 feet. 15,000 feet, okay. So our new cruising altitude on the FMC, not on the autopilot, is 15,000 feet, okay. So now we engage again vertical navigation mode. We have 25,000 feet on the autopilot, but we pressed vertical navigation mode. That means that our plane will not follow the altitude on the autopilot, but will follow the altitude of the FMC, this one. We changed and we went to 15,000 feet. And actually, if we have a look at our legs, we see that also the altitude of the legs changed, because now the new altitude when we will reach acidity is 15,000 feet. Okay. And so we descend, following the FMC with vertical navigation mode. Here, vertical navigation is engaged. However, the only disadvantage is that we cannot set our speed right now, but the speed is calculated by the FMC, so our speed is 242. And actually the truth is that also our rate of descent is calculated by the FMC. We go to 15,000. And actually it will be half-half. Let us go until, okay, let us change it once again. I will make it, because I want to show you both ways. Let us go to initial reference, performance, and let us make it, okay, 18. Okay, 18,000 feet. Okay, good. So the plane will stabilize at 18,000 feet now. And once again, our legs have also changed. We go to legs page. Here we see 18,000 feet, which is the altitude put on the FMC. Good. Here it is. The only small problem is that we cannot have the desired speed that we want. I mean, we cannot change this to 142. See, have a look here now. Have a look at the PFD. You see, we are stabilized on 18,000 feet. Also we see it here, the altitude, and we see it here, B. So distance to next waypoint, okay, it's about 90 miles. And by the way, all those things are the same for all the Boeings, okay? It is the same logic for all the Boeings in the Boeing family, the 777, and the 767, and the 747, and also the Dreamliner. Now we will descend the other way. Now we leave the vertical navigation mode, and we don't have to press this button, we just press here on the vertical speed. We go to, let's say, 15,000. Here it is, okay, 14,000. Let it be 14,000. We set the rate of descent of, let's say, 1,500. Okay, and now if we press auto throttle, because auto throttle is disengaged with the vertical navigation mode, now if we press auto throttle, we can also arrange our speed. So we will have a speed, let's say, of about 280. Yeah, we hear the engines increasing our thrust. Here it is. And so now we return back to the autopilot. Distance only 60. Flaps are 20. This distance here seems short to land. I mean quite short, and visibility is not the best. And camera is stacked. Okay, at least we are on a route. Because things are getting quite dangerous now. Let us hope visibility will be slightly better. 180. Okay, at least we are stabilized. 175. Yeah, everything is on autopilot still. Localizer and glide slope appeared, but they are not activated. I wonder if we still have the frequency, but it is not time to check now. The ILS frequency, I mean. I'm afraid ILS doesn't work. Okay, one more turn to final.
2500.
Okay, approach. Let us see.
Chennai Tower Golf Air 53 ready for departure runway
this is
25
bad now.
IFR to Bahrain.
Yeah, this is terrible right now. bad. Okay.
300. 200. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Okay, we have seen worse in Komaraka Airport in Chahapar. I don't know which of the two is worse. I recorded. I didn't record, isn't it? I didn't record, unfortunately. And I was very curious to see this one. Yeah, that would be interesting to see the cameras from inside, yes. It would be very interesting, but unfortunately I forgot to record. So, welcome to Chennai. It is just curiosity if we have any facilities, though I'm not in the mood, let's say, to... Yeah, I'm not in the mood. I forgot to record. Okay, speed parking brake set.
Chennai ground, Delta 9er tree, 69er heavy. Could you please connect the jetway to the aircraft? Delta 9er tree, 69er heavy. The jetway is going to be connected.
So, I'm a little bit disappointed because I know how terrible this landing was. I don't know if I can see from the clip my rate of descent. Yeah, that was somehow I was not lined up. Anyhow, so this is all for now. What to say? Thank you for watching this clip and hope to see you soon to the next one. Bye for now.